Beautiful singing here. Still singing. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for the return. That was nice. So please stand in body or spirit as we sing our gathering hymn. Number 100, I've got Peace Like a River. Well, welcome. So welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Hillsborough. We're an open and welcoming congregation. Whoever you are, member, friend, or guest, we're glad you're here. Okay. We're a bit unusual. We're defined by covenant rather than to a statement of belief or creed. We support each other in spiritual growth, deepening of faith, and challenge one another to find more love and deep truth inside ourselves and in the world. So I'd like to thank everyone who's made this special worship celebration possible. Lots of folks participate, lots of moving parts here. Our wonderful music director, Aviva Enoch. I'm our listening ear today, and our speakers today are Shauna Sanders, Lou Goodall, myself, and Amy Tattersall is here in heart and spirit with us. And we're going to tell you about our experiences being participants. Lou and I were delegates, and Amy and Shauna are dedicated GA junkies. I think you said that. I'm quoting you, I think. That means we get together every year and we have Camp Amy and we like to watch the GA proceedings. The theme of GA this year was Meet the Moment, Reimagining Radical Faith Community, and our UU General Assembly 2022 report. I know that might sound really boring, but this is like what's important for our organization as a whole to define who we are, how we're going to function, and what we're going to do. So it's actually really, really important. So before we create our sacred space and begin worship, let's take a moment to share any announcements. Anybody have an announcement?
I do.
Great.
So after a little summer hiatus, our singing group, the Songbirds, is going to be getting back together for a regular, we have a singing second Sunday of each month. We gather here at 7 p.m. in the sanctuary, and we sing through some stuff, and we have a good time together. So anybody who loves to sing, you don't need to be able to read music, but you're welcome to come. And if you would like to get on my email list so you get reminders, then please come up and see me after the service. I'm happy to add you.
Hey, I'm Steve. We are currently at 42 subscribers on YouTube. Yay! Twice as many as we had last week. And the reason that's important is that if we could get to 50, YouTube says, okay, we'll just let you live stream from an iPad rather than 2 different computers back there. So if you're not subscribed or know people who would like to be, go tell them, hit UU Congregation of Hillsborough on YouTube. Thanks.
Just really quickly, we are working on the directory, so that's going to be happening pretty soon. So we have a new survey out to get everyone, their name, what they want included in the directory, but also how they would like that directory delivered to them, whether electronically or in print form. So look out for that. The link for the survey is in the e-news. We'll be sending that out throughout the month of August, trying to get that done. And also I wanted to just reiterate the summer workday is coming up at the end of August on the 27th. We have a form that we'll be sending out as well that will include any requests that you have for work to be done, in the building, on the grounds, etc.
A couple brief announcements about children's religious exploration. We will continue to have every other Sunday in August, so the second and fourth Sundays. We will have that during the service, and then it'll start weekly on September 11th, the first weekend after Labor Day. If you have a child that you would like to participate in the fall, please register. There's registration link in the e-news. We need to make sure we have up-to-date contact information and allergies and all that kind of stuff. So that, and we also would really love to have 2 or 3 more assistants. You don't have to do any prep work. It's very easy. It's very fun. You just show up, you go have fun with the kids halfway through the service, and then you come back. So if you're interested in doing that, there's also a thing in the e-news, the email address that you can email, and we'll get you started with background check stuff. Thanks.
If you would like to have coffee today, go out the back door and it will be out in the back area. Thank you, COVID.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
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 I'm your listening ear today. My name is Lou Goodall, And if you have anything that's in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, anything that you want to talk about, and just kind of would like to have somebody listening, maybe feedback a little bit, be happy to meet with you right after the service. If we're outside, they're probably over near the green hut here. The other thing is that other people who are on the listening ear team, I'd like to have just a brief meeting with you right after the service. Thank you.
Okay, so that was a last minute change, but a welcome one.
Sorry, I should have said that.
It's okay. So if there are no more announcements, make sure we silence our cell phones, put them in worship mode, and please keep our masks on, okay? So we're a community of liberal, open-minded people who strive to connect with one another in love. We now create our sacred space by lighting our chalice, the UU symbol for the light of truth that each of us seeks, the light of hope that each of us brings, and the eternal light of love.
The call to worship today is The Courage to Continue on the Journey by Lynn Cox. Spirit of life and love, known by many names and yet fully known by none, we give thanks for this time and this place of renewal. We give thanks for the ability to begin again, after the disaster, after the tragedy, after the loss, after meeting the challenge set before us. Grant us the courage to continue on the journey, the courage to speak up for the well-being of others and ourselves and the planet. May we forgive each other when our courage falls short, and may we try again. Grant us hearts to love boldly, to embody our faith and our values in living words and deeds. May our hearts open to embrace humility, grace, and reconciliation. Grant us the ability to learn and grow, to let the spirit of love and truth work its transformation upon us and within us. Grant us the spirit of hospitality, the willingness to sustain a fit dwelling place for the holy that resides in all being. Grant us a sense of being at peace in the world, even as we are in motion. Let us cultivate the strength to welcome every kind of gift and all manner of ways to be on the journey together. To this, we add the silent prayers of our hearts. Please rise in body or spirit and join in our opening hymn, Building Bridges, in the Teal Hymnal 1023.
We'll sing this through a couple of times all together, and then we're going to split in two. So this half of the room will be with me, and then this half of the room will be with my brother. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions,
such sweet harmony, building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices, all our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Beautiful. It's so wonderful singing together. There's so much energy that gets built up. Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a sharing community where our sorrows are celebrated, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Each Sunday, we take some time to reflect on the special happenings that have occurred this week among our members and friends. Some choose to share aloud, while others choose to remain silent. Here, we make room for both. For those of you who would like to share aloud, please take a moment before we begin to center yourself and collect your thoughts so that what you share this morning is personal, heartfelt, and brief. We hold all these things within the heart of this community, both spoken and unspoken. By remaining silent for a moment, let us consider what has been shared and how we might respond. May the community respond with amen and blessed be. Amen and blessed be. And now we'll hear the story for all ages.
So anybody who wants to come up closer is welcome, children or others. This is What Are You Made Of? The parable of the potato, egg, and coffee beans. A daughter complained to her father that her life was miserable and that she didn't know how she was going to make it. She was tired of fighting and struggling all the time. It seemed that just as one problem was solved, another one soon followed. Her father, a chef, took her to the kitchen. He filled 3 pots with water and placed each over a higher fire. When the water began to boil, he placed potatoes in one pot, eggs in the second pot, and ground coffee beans in the third pot. He then let them boil for a while without saying a word to his daughter. The daughter moaned and waited impatiently, wondering what her father was doing. After 20 minutes, he turned off the burners. He took the potatoes and the eggs out of the pots and placed them in different bowls, and he poured the coffee into a cup. Turning to her, he asked, "What do you see?" "Potatoes, eggs, and coffee," she quickly replied. "Look closer," he said, "and touch the potatoes." She did, and noted that they were soft. He then asked her to take an egg and break it. After removing the shell, she observed the hard-boiled egg. Finally, he asked her to sip the coffee. Its rich aroma brought a smile to her face. "Father, what does this mean?" she asked. He then explained that the potatoes, eggs, and coffee beans had each faced the same adversity, boiling water. However, each one reacted differently. The moral of the story: the potato went in strong, hard, and unrelenting, but in boiling water it became soft and weak. The egg was fragile, with the thin outer shell protecting its liquid interior until it was put in the boiling water. Then the inside of the egg became hard. However, the ground coffee beans were unique. After being exposed in the boiling water, they changed the water and created something new. "Which are you?" he asked his daughter. "When adversity knocks on your door, how do you respond? Are you a potato, an egg, or a coffee bean?" So, my friends, which are you when you are confronted with adverse conditions? The potato, the egg, or the coffee beans?
Thank you. I think we'd probably all vote for the coffee beans if we could.
So we don't have a layer.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Just seems to be loose.
So it's in the details. So the theme this month is resilience. And I think that connects a lot with what's happening with our General Assembly of the UA and here in our congregation, resilience. So the General Assembly is the Unitarian Universalist Association's mega gathering of UUs from all over the globe. It's held in late June and is rotated from the eastern to the western part of the United States. And in case you're curious, it's going to be held next year in Pittsburgh, so we'll be back on the East Coast next year. So we can actually manage to drive there if you want to. This year was a dual platform, but the last 2 years were online because of the pandemic. It was held in Portland, Oregon, in late June, and the theme was Meet the Moment, Reimagining Radical Faith Community. Highlights of GA in general are opportunities to network. You just get to be with each other all over the country, to meet each other and to learn from and with other UUs. So it's very exciting if you've ever been to one in person. It's a lot of energy. There's a banner parade, opening celebration, daily morning programming and worship, and several general sessions where UUA business and decision making occurs. There's live programming and featured speakers with in-person and live on-demand webinar workshops. And by the way, you can check out the UUA website to catch some of them if you're interested. The Service of the Living Tradition honors fellowshipped and credentialed religious leaders, remembering those who have died and those who have completed active service. I actually really like that one. And there's a youth program and a synergy bridging workshop for multi-generational worship that particularly highlights contributions and presentations by our youth. And I always think that's really wonderful to see our youth participating. The public witness component is really important. It's where UUs join together at a local setting in our host city to support social and environmental justice causes. In the evenings, there's online and in-person entertainment offerings. One of the big highlights is the WHERE lecture, which the UUA has hosted nearly every year since 1922, and in which distinguished guests address the General Assembly. This year was Dr. Ibram X. Zendi. Actually, hold on. Kendi. Sorry? Kendi. And here are a couple of books that he has written. And he's a noted writer and researcher on anti-racism. So he has stamped from the beginning. This won a National Book Award for nonfiction, and his recent book, How to Raise an Anti-Racist, was the #1 New York Times bestseller. And the last Sunday worship is what I call UU High Church. It's really moving to hear the UUA choir and thousands of people singing familiar hymns together. It's a very strong feeling of community when we're all singing at the same time. And I thought it was really cool to see we're all UUs, that's amazing, look at us all in one place. So I think that's really fun. In the general session meetings, Lou and I were the UCH's delegates. We voted via electronic ballot on, there was some rules clarification, 2 business resolutions. One was endorsing a comprehensive rewriting of UUA bylaws for theologically grounded and mission-focused governance, which the UUA calls reimagining business together. Business meetings were getting very bogged down in the parliamentary process with Robert's Rules of Order. So this refocuses meetings on discussing the issues at hand. This was really apparent when we were online and we were just like watching it go on and on and on. And it was really apparent that this wasn't working very well. All pro and con speakers were broadcast online on site, and there was no procedural mic during the GA, and votes were to table, refer, or in discussion or call a question weren't allowed. And that's the kind of stuff that bogged us down in the past. The other resolution allows the GA Planning Committee to respond quickly and flexibly, which was really apparent during the pandemic. We needed to move on a dime sometimes, and so we've made some changes to be able to address those needs. And both of these resolutions passed overwhelmingly. There were 2 nominees, in case you happen to know them. Reverend Justine Sullivan and Reverend Suzanne Fast were overwhelmingly nominated to the Board of Trustees. So that was kind of like the businessy part of GA. This year's 3 actions of immediate witness, that's like where we really kind of commit ourselves as an organization. We do not consent rejecting legal challenges to abortion. 99.7% of votes in favor of that. Anti-racism and reparations via restorative justice, 95% voted for that, and stop the privatization of Medicare, and it was 77%. So all three voted overwhelmingly. The presentation of We Do Not Consent, Rejecting Legal Challenges to Abortion, the action immediate witness, was incredibly timely. Amy Tattersall and I were in the car coming from her doctor appointment when Shauna Saunders called and said, "Did you hear what the Supreme Court just did? They struck down Roe versus Wade." I'm driving. I'm in like, what? We were in complete shock. Historically, women were limited in the jobs they could have because if they married, that meant that they became pregnant, they could become pregnant, then they'd have to leave their jobs to raise children. In my life, I've witnessed the struggle for women to become CEOs, doctors, lawyers, astronauts, scientists, ministers, priests, legislators, professors, and military personnel, among many other career options. This is misogyny along with other isms in our culture that repress people's liberties for centuries, and the Equal Rights Amendment still has not become safely placed in our Constitution. That's a constant burr in my side, personally. Thankfully, our GAUUs, because we were there in Portland, Oregon, joined a local rally in Portland and protested the Supreme Court's ruling overturning Roe versus Wade and supporting the abortion access. Our UUA president was invited to speak, and here is part of what she had to say. I'm Susan Frederick Gray. I'm president of the denomination, the Unitarian Universalist Association. A lot of us are here in the Side with Love gold shirts and stoles. We've been committed to reproductive justice and the right to abortion access for decades. And before Roe protected our right to abortion, Unitarian Universalists were partnering with other faith communities to help women access safe abortions, and we are going to right back to that work as faith communities. I am furious. I am filled with holy fury at the way that our lives and our rights are being taken away. Women's rights, trans people's lives and healthcare, BIPOC communities' lives and freedom. We are in this struggle in solidarity. There are more of us than there of them, and we have come together and we will win. There's a Holy Spirit in us, a spirit of courage and power that knows that liberation is only possible when we are free, when every single one of us is free. We cannot be divided in these movements by identity. We have to fight on all the issues. Because the system of fascism, authoritarianism, Christian ethno-nationalism is coming for us all. And we're not going to take it, and we're not going to be quiet, and we're not going to be silent. We will not give up our rights. We will disobey the law. We will protect each other. Reproductive justice, reproductive care is health care. It is a fundamental human right. Is it about liberation? It is about agency. It's about bodily autonomy. She spoke of our collective and interdependent lives, that we are in the churn of change, that the systems and practices we've relied on are breaking down and shifting. Well, what is needed is being imagined, but not there yet. In times like these of change, loss, and uncertainty, there's a risk that fear will dominate and cause us to cling to the status quo and systems that no longer serve us, just for a feeling of the certainty they give and the fear of moving into the liminal more fully. This is no time for a casual faith, and this is no time to go it alone. These words have only become more apparent and urgent. I see Unitarian Universalists living into these commitments. In UU the Vote 2022, we're going all in for voting rights, all in to defend Black lives, trans kids, the right to abortion, demand climate action, and protect our kids, communities, and our educators from the censorship of the anti-critical race theory movement and the politicians who refuse to take action on gun regulation. The UUA has cultivated a diverse staff with an executive leadership team of over 60% people of color, senior management 40%, and overall UUA staff 32% people of color. This work is the deepest expression of our values. And we have a generational opportunity to be kind of anti-oppressive faith community that we imagine and talk about, despite those who would oppose our focus on anti-racism work and dismantling white supremacy culture within and beyond our religious community. Historically, this work has always been met with resistance of UUs, who resisted change, defended and protected the status quo, when those times instead called for courage and boldness. These facts are important to know and grapple with as uncomfortable truths. However, the arc of where we've come from honors the courage of social justice activists who came before, of Unitarian Universalists willing to risk their lives for a future of justice, equality, and freedom for all. I felt proud of our UUA president responding to the Supreme Court news as she did, and representing our UUA faith based on our principles and defending social justice publicly. UUs are working to add the 8th principle, and several congregations have already adopted it to their houses of spiritual gathering, and I am hoping that UUCH will also. The proposed 8th principle reads as follows: we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Let us remember, we are not a people of fear. We are a people of faith. We are religious people of imagination and possibility. Thank you.
I'm just going to speak briefly about some of the business and then a little bit about the Ware lecture. So the UUA is looking to rewrite or update its purposes and proposing a way to describe shared UU values. One draft of UUA's, quote, purpose includes, its primary purposes are to equip congregations for vital ministry, to support and train leaders, both lay and professional, to heal historic inequities, and to advance UU values in the world. Another less specific draft includes, the UUA's purpose is to grow and resource faith communities that support people through their lives' journeys and transform the world by liberating ourselves through love. So you can see there's several different tacks that people are taking. GA participants were also asked to explore proposed UU values, such as justice, evolution, diversity, interdependence, equity, generosity, and love, and to consider one of these values and what it calls us to do. So we were asked us to consider and fill in the statement, because we value blank, we covenant to blank. Linda spoke of one of the actions of immediate witness, and I'm going to just talk a little bit about the anti-racism and reparations via restorative justice action of immediate witness. So in the United States, there exists a belief in and practice of white supremacy that condemns Americans of African descent to second-class citizens without equal protection under the law. The federal government wrote divisive policies in housing, education, policing, and taxation, which differentially penalized persons of African descent. The escalation of political polarization has resulted in widespread education censorship bills and voting rights restrictions that are clearly anti-African American and pro-white supremacist and have taken hold in national politics. So the UUA encourages and supports its member congregations to engage the principles of restorative justice and truthful American history, to fully understand and reject white supremacy. General Assembly asks Unitarian and Universalists, in alignment with our faith values, to address and engage restorative justice through allying with representatives from the most affected communities, to take action employing those dynamics at all levels of public engagement in the political and educational spheres. We can create study action groups that engage in restorative justice. Congregations would take the initiative by embracing the principles of restorative justice and partnering with marginalized communities to seek societal repair and reparations as an essential underlying aspect of our social justice work. Also, we should promote and support cultural and gender identity in leadership and in learning environments. Our congregations can model diversity in their teams as models of a comprehension approach to change. This could be individually, congregationally, or in our city. Our congregations can support local school committees to include, as graduation requirements, civics and the true history and realities experienced by people of color. All Unitarian Universalists are encouraged to be a part of national and local initiatives and organizations, such as the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, the National African American Reparations Commission, Grassroots Reparations Campaign, and Coming to the Table. A high point of GA for me was the Ware Lecture, which was actually in the format of a conversation between Ibram X. Kendi and UUA President Susan Frederick Gray. One of Kendi's overriding points, which he emphasizes in all of his books, his podcasts, is that changing people's minds won't change the system. We need to change the system through organizing protests, putting the powerful in a position that makes it in their interest to change their actions. He pointed out that we can blame elected officials, corporations, and racial capitalism. But there are ways, for example, to reduce the levels of homicides and violent crimes if we care about the lives of the poor. To build power, we must understand what power is. He said we have an icky relationship with power. Racism is a power struggle. Sometimes our philosophies cause us to shy away from building power. He says we should not shy away from building, wielding, or maintaining power. Power to make policy is the ultimate level of power. Policy managers carry out policies. All people have power to resist managers and policymakers. We should question, am I using my power to thwart racist policies? We should organize with other people to build power to force managers and makers to change policies. Kendi also explained that the same people articulate both racist and anti-racist ideas. No one, he says, is inherently racist or anti-racist. Most people are doing both racist and anti-racist things. He ended by reminding us that shielding children from discussions about racism creates situations where the most vulnerable are least likely to engage about it. Some extreme consequences include children wanting to change their race or youth who join white supremacist organizations. Parents imagine ideas about race are too complicated, but we know this is not true. Racism is damaging to adults, even more so to children. This idea resounds with me. I challenge myself to open windows for my students so that they become more aware of racism and other oppression in our world and learn ways to confront it.
Wow, a lot of it has already been covered really excellently by these two folks. Okay, that better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anyway, great stuff, great coverage of all that. I'm going to take one of the things that's left. This was actually a little bit of a surprise to me to see it come up as an action of immediate witness. It's to stop the privatization of Medicare. What does that mean? It means that they want to make it some kind of private enterprise so that other people can come in, corporations can come in and get rich and everything, and they can control how much care you get when you're old enough to have Medicare. And we'll get back to that in a minute. So a little review. The United States of America, when compared to other nations, ranks lowest in healthcare. It has the lowest life expectancy and the highest infant mortality. In 2019, about $11,000 per person on health care was spent, while other comparable nations spent an average of only $5,500. So we're talking about a lot of income inequality as well. It's imperative that we have Medicare for all. An improved public Medicare system would provide quality health care for all U.S. residents at a lower cost to individuals and to our nation. It would also include things that have not been included before: dental, eye treatment, hearing, and mental health care. And we should probably add to that substance abuse treatment. So instead, right now, there is a concerted effort to privatize Medicare, to enroll people in private practices without their understanding or consenting to what is happening, in practices in which medical practitioners in private businesses can refuse needed care and reap profits. This can happen despite individuals consciously and deliberately choosing the original Medicare, which does not have the same limitations. There's a little history of what happened during the Trump administration. I think I won't go there. Probably get too angry. What it comes down to really is that what we're advocating for, so that privatization does not take place at all, is we go the opposite direction and instead install Medicare for all. Thanks.
Well, there you have it on GA, at least our version of it. So each week we take a monetary offering of donations to support our social justice work in our community. This month, our community partner is the Northern Orange NAACP, and our local branch is preparing a Freedom Fund banquet that will happen on September 10th. Your donations will help support that event, which will raise money for local scholarships. And you can donate by putting cash or a check into the basket and make checks out to UCH, put plate in the subject line. And you can also donate online.
Will you come quick upon the hill? We'll break some bread and we'll take our fill. We have the greatest reason of all. We'll build a city or we'll fall. Haven't you heard that we are free? Haven't you traced your steps back from Calvary? We'll have the greatest reason of all. We'll build a city or we'll fall. We'll build a city without walls. So bring all your hammers, nails and your toes. So bring all you can spare and what you might use. Now lose your grip when I need our hands today. We'll build a city as we pray. Bring all your hammers, nails and your toes. Bring all you can spare and what you might use. Now is your grip, will not need our hands today. We'll build a city as we pray. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Thank you. That was really powerful. Please join me in our prayer of collective gratitude found in your order of service. And by the way, it was OCIM, not NAACP, that we just donated to. So this is in your order of service. For the love that surrounds us every morning, for the friends beside us, and for the generous gifts just received, let us be truly grateful. Our closing hymn is number 168, One More Step.
This is a closing reading. Is that better? Okay. Yeah, there we go. All right. Prayer for Moving Forward by Jennifer Jo Van Roo. Spirit of life and love, of many names and none at all, our hearts are stretched thin. We see and hear the devaluing of people of color, of those with disabilities, of women, of immigrants. This list, incomplete as it is exhausting. And yet, we hold fast because we carry hope in our hearts. Hope that together we can dismantle systems of oppression. Hope that the collective of American humanity will look at one another and say, this has got to change. However thin our resilience may be wearing, we do not give up or give in. We look around and see our friends and neighbors carrying signs, moving and marching together because we must not give up. We join thousands of people in the streets. We move for justice. We live for peace. We will not rest until we are heard. We will not rest until equity is made more real all around us. And Spirit of life, we look within our own hearts to the burning coal that is at the center of our being, the place where our hope for the world lives, the place where our faith in humanity resides, and there we find the strength and courage to continue moving forward, however muddy and rough the path may be.
Please join me with our closing words. Thank you, pal. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace, my friends, and blessed be.
Blessed be.